Okay, I think we're live.
Hell yeah.
All right. Sweet. Okay. Now we're live. Okay, perfect. So, all right. Well, welcome to Leggs. We are here today with Dan from Eagle Rock Run Club. Very, very stoked and super excited to have him on. So, I don't want to. I'm gonna throw the mic over to Dan and let him sort of introduce himself, introduce the club, and we'll get into things. So, Dan, who are you? What brings you here?
Oh, what brings me here? A link in my Instagram. My name is Dan, and I started the Eagle Rock Run Club about 2 years ago, and now we're here. I live in Los Angeles, in Eagle Rock. There's not a lot, not a lot deeper than that.
Awesome. So, give me a little background on Eagle Rock Run Club. How did it start? What's the mission? What are some of the core values of that whole thing?
Yeah, man. We started about 2 years ago. I have been running for, I guess, at this point, like, I guess a little over 6 years. Probably coming up on 7 of like actually like running. And I remember just starting running because I wanted to do some form. I got to like my late 20s and realized that I had no form of exercise that I actually liked, and figured that running would be the cheapest and easiest and least impactful on my life, which is ironic now. But so, I got a pair of shoes and just started running, and then eventually did what we all did and got addicted to it. Did my first half marathon, and then realized that if I just kept training the way I was training for the half marathon, eventually I would get up to a full marathon. So 6 years ago, I did my first LA marathon, and I've done every one since. Yeah, the whole time, mostly running solo, every once in a while running with like my brother and sister-in-law, occasionally doing runs with other people, but really like keeping it pretty solo. And then about 2 years ago, I went on a work trip to Hawaii. I told everybody, I was like, I'm going to run every day. Like, Hawaii is the most beautiful place in the world to run. I had just read what I talk about when I talk about running. So I was like, I got to do it. And so I told them, like, I'm going to go for a run every day. Feel free to join me. No pressure. And I got a bunch of people to come out for, their first runs. I got a bunch of people to do their first 5K. Eventually, by the end of the week, we were doing a 10K where we, stopped to get coffee in the middle.
Yeah.
And I liked being able to show people different routes, showing people that it's like running isn't scary, and it's especially not scary when you're doing it with a group.
Yeah.
And so then when I got back, I was like, you know what, like, I'll just start running outside of my favorite bar every Thursday, which is Waltz, which is a bar in Eagle Rock that serves hot dogs and beer and wine and pretzels. It's the best bar in town, bar none, no pun intended. But truly, like, just my favorite bar to go to. So I figured it would be a nice place to start a run. So even if nobody showed up, I could still hang out there and feel justified. And the first run, a couple people showed up. Second run, less people showed up. And then the third run, no one came.
Oh, wow.
And there's a very fun picture of just me all alone. But then, a couple runs after that, I met some people and they were like, oh, that's cool. You have a run club in Eagle Rock. We'll try it out. And so they came. And then eventually more people started to show up, and now it's become this whole thing.
I was just gonna say, looking at the Instagram, it looks like there's such a community and such a following now. It's hard to imagine like you sitting outside of Waltz or sitting inside of Waltz just by yourself at this point.
Yeah.
It looks like a great community that you've been able to build down there.
Yeah, it's really wild too, because I didn't know, like, everybody that's super involved in Run Club now, which, there are like, we have our core crew that has been coming for a long time, and I think about it all the time. I didn't know any of those people 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wasn't even aware of their existence, and now like consider them to be some of my closest friends and like people I work with, on a very close level. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, especially as we start to, age and get a little older. I'm not going to presume how old you are. If you won't presume how old I am. But as we start to get older, you start to like it's harder to make friends, right? And you start to like look back at like the friends you had, and I don't know, it's just an interesting sort of juxtaposition of new versus old. So I want to hit on that a little bit more, but well, cool. I love the build story here. If you like now that the club's more established and what's like a singular statement or maybe like the club mission?
Yeah, I think I always come back to our three like core values are meet at Waltz. So it's about, a community space, some place for people to meet, people to hang out, all paces welcome. And then the third thing, 3 easy miles. So
Yeah.
truly, at the end of the day, like even if the hang is, one of my favorite parts, like it's still about running, and it's about introducing people to running and, getting them to push past their maybe what they thought were their limits. And so
Mhm.
whether that's, training for a half marathon, training for their first, 10K, training for their first marathon, like it shouldn't be, it's hard, but it should still be fun. And, like
Yeah.
running for me is, if it's not fun, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, even if it's hard, it's still fun. Those three kind of like encapsulate a little bit of everything that we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a really really well put. Just quickly shifting gears a little bit to like the overarching sort of marketing for the club. I think before we hit record on this, I was geeking out over the album cover remakes that you help or that you used to help promote the group.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I just want to know this, and I'm thinking other people might too. But where'd that spawn from? Who does that creative? Like, how'd that whole idea come to fruition?
That is just my broken brain on social media. It's not a lot more than that. I come from music world. I worked in music up until about 6 months ago. Have always been involved in music in some capacity, whether it be, booking DIY shows or playing in bands, working at labels. So my brain does almost everything through a filter of music. And then it's also like how I got into graphic design was just by, remaking album art and like trying to do weird stuff in Photoshop. And so
Yeah.
that's just where my brain goes automatically.
Oh, nice.
And I really like, one of my favorite things is to try and go as niche as possible and then find the people that still are on board. Like that's always like, how deep down the rabbit hole, how far can I go into like 2000s emo music before no one gets it?
Who's like your ultimate like early 2000s emo artist?
Oh man, probably like the Anniversary. Is that early 2000s? That might be mid, but I think
I feel like I
of
heard them in
those, of those bands, like maybe them or Piebald.
Oh God! If it weren't for the Venetian blinds, it'd be curtains for us all, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember Piebald for me. Like I finally got to see them a couple of years ago with my wife. Like the
Nice.
first time I heard them, it was post them even being like a popular band.
Yeah.
Like I came on the scene late for them, but as soon as I heard them, I was like, how has this not been my favorite band for my whole life?
Yeah, they're a stellar band, man. I haven't listened to them in a long time. All right, so let's get to a little bit of the loneliness chat, which is sort of the ethos of Leggggs, the whole less lonely through running. So less lonely through clubbing in this instance.
Hell yeah.
We've read studies. There's studies out there about how body in motion can lead to a happier mindset, and then the happier mindset leads to overall better mental health. And feelings of just overall being less lonely. How do you personally feel running contributes to this?
It is funny because like being like a solo runner for so long and only recently finding any community in it, it is fascinating. Just like the way that, the last 2 years, I've just found a whole new group of people that like, I mean, obviously we like running, running and training together, like releases some sort of endorphins and, keeps you going in a certain way. But it's also just like finding community and finding, like you talked about earlier, like adult friendship is something that I know like a lot of people struggle with, and giving people a place to almost act as like, I talk about like making friends in running is like making friends in elementary school, where you just walk up to a guy and you go, I like your shoes. And then you're like, I like your shoes. And then you just talk about shoes,
Yeah.
I think there's something to that. I think there's something to like just getting yourself to that sort of vulnerable place where you allow yourself to make a new friend that you aren't a coworker with, that
Mhm.
doesn't, they're not, it's not the same as, work friends or your neighbors, and they might be neighbors, but it's still like at the end of the day, kind of a magical little friendship.
We've talked about childlike wonderment with people like Gordon Clark on the show and all that. I do think that there is some like childlike wonderment that comes along with this whole running thing, and I think the aspect of making friends is one that's maybe overlooked or not as readily apparent until you just kind of like bluntly say it like that. So that's an interesting.
When
Yeah, go ahead.
when you talk about childlike wonderment, I was just talking. We just did the speed project. There's like a field trip aspect to a lot of this stuff. Like even
Mhm.
like on like the long runs that we do, and at the end of like if it's raining outside, like that feels to me like the most back to childlike that you can get, where you're just like, I'm gonna go run in the rain, you know.
Yeah,
And obviously there's like more structure to it than that, but at the end of the day, like it is sort of, you're getting back to some sort of childlike experience.
yeah, definitely. And there's something about relay races too. I saw all your coverage on of the speed project, and just yeah, I think there's some about relays too, of just being crammed in a van with people either you're like blood brothers with or don't know a damn thing about. You'll end
Yeah.
up knowing everything about them by the end of 24 hours. That's how I like some of the best friends I've made. I got crammed in a van with a bunch of people for Hood to Coast one year. Never met them before, and now I text them daily. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So it's a and that's that childlike wonderment. It's just like, oh, you like running? I like running. Oh, you like I don't know living in a van? Sure, me too. Whatever.
Yeah. What's your
Um,
favorite goo flavor?
yeah, exactly. Then that's sort of your side of how running can contribute to sort of like the overall better mental health. How do you feel that your club, Eagle Rock Run Club, lends to overall better health, better mental health?
Oh, I don't know. I think it breaks people. No. I don't know. I think it's sort of that part. I think is an individual thing. I think everybody gets something a little different out of Run Club, and I'm just here to facilitate whatever they need out of it. If you just need a place to come every Thursday, run 3 miles, get that out of your system, and leave, that's great. That's
Sure.
all I care. Like as long as you got what you needed out of it, but if you want to be super involved, if you want to show up to every run, if you want to be a captain, if you want to help plan one of our crazy trips, like that space is open for people, and I want to
Yeah.
like provide that space for people to do that, and have a good time. But
That's
I don't
awesome.
know, like I try not to think about it too much, try and get too deep in the weeds about like how other people take it, because I know what it means to me, and it means a lot to me personally. But if someone just wants to show up every once in a while and go for a run, like that space should be totally open for them. I don't know if
Um,
that even answered your question, but
it does. I think it completely does. I think all it is a low pressure way to come move your body for a little bit. And I want to dig in a little bit further on like the significance of 3 easy miles, and all paces welcome. So like why 3 miles? Why not four? Why not two? Why 3 easy miles?
so it's funny because 3 miles is my least favorite distance to run. I just think I never get at the end of a 3 mile run and be like, hell yeah, that rocked. I had a blast. I always sort of wish it was longer, or I was just doing like a speed mile or something like that. I mean, most of the
Yeah,
time I would rather do longer.
sure.
But 3 miles is sort of like this weird in between for me personally. But I also know that it is achievable for someone that maybe is just running for the first time. There might not be able to run the whole time, but you can make it through 3 miles. Even if you got to walk, you'll be back in an hour. So I wanted to keep that Thursday run like always 3 miles, always the same route, so that anytime you show up, it's going to be the same. It's consistent. And the all paces welcome is just because, I think it's become sort of like a cliche in run clubs.
Yeah.
But I've been to run clubs where I was absolutely the slowest person, which I'm cool with. But not a lot of people want to be that person. I think
Yeah.
there's a way to get self conscious about that, and I just want to hammer it home as much as possible. Like there's no such thing to me like fast or slow. Everybody runs at their pace. We're all getting something out of it. If you need to do 12-minute miles, if you need to do 13-minute miles, like that rules. Like I look
Yeah.
at I like when we do the marathon and I see people doing, the full 26.2 miles at like a 13-minute pace. Like to me, that feels harder than what, than the people that are doing like 3-hour marathons, because they're only on their feet for 3 hours total. It's a lot of time on feet if you're doing, a less speedy pace. I think there's no shame in whatever pace you're at, and everybody has done their first run. Everyone has done their first 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, and it all feels the same.
So how do you promote that within the club then? So if you've got a big group leaving and you've got runners at a 7-minute mile pace or 6:30 or something like that, but then also 13s, how do the runs shake out then?
So it was a struggle because we for the 3-minute or the 3 easy miles, I wasn't really worried about it for a long time. If you're fast, you're fast. If you're slow, you're not slow. If you are, I know, I'm lying here. But if you're at a different clip, you're at a different clip. And I think for 3 miles, you can kind of find your pace group. You can hang out. Everyone's going to make it to the end. It's a pretty simple route. What I found is that now that we're doing what we call them our slow jams, which are our long runs on Saturdays. Okay. That's when I've had to be more conscious about, having people step up to be almost pace leaders.
Yeah.
And people that I can point to and be like, this person's doing 12-minute mile. They know the route. Stick with them. I'm doing my 10-minute mile because that's where I feel most comfy, especially on long runs. And Fred's going to do 9-minute mile. Anything faster than that, have a great time and know the route. I want to make sure that, people feel comfortable to, sit in their pace group and not push it to go faster than they are comfortable with.
Yeah. I want to kind of get into this like active participation in a community, because I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of run clubs, and I think that there's a huge spike in what we're seeing from like a community standpoint. People were reaching for something in COVID, and then like a lot of people took up running, and now they're taking it to sort of the next level where it's kind of like hyper growth renaissance area of new runners taking it to the next level, looking for more, finding these communities. How do you promote sort of like active participation within Eagle Rock? So it's not just showing up to the runs and doing the runs. It's showing up to the runs, being part of the conversation. Like what does Eagle Rock do to promote sort of like the inner club sort of conversation and participation?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I naturally do that in a way. Like I naturally bring in people to help, just because I know there's things that I'm not naturally good at. And so I seek those people out that are better at that. Like for our TSP team, I know I'm not the hyper planner that's going to know exactly where all of our stops are. So I reached out to Gabby, who's one of our runners that is, her brain works better that way. And, she's been coming for a long time and is one of our, actual captains that are now designated. And she took up that mantle and absolutely crushed it. But I think in general, we have a Discord where I kind of actively I encourage people to, make plans on their own. If someone has an idea for a run that they want to do under the Eagle Rock name, let's do it. Let's figure out a way, for you to, help plan it. And if it's something you're really passionate about, you should be able to do it and have our infrastructure and have, the people around here that are willing to help you.
What are some of those races that people have flown the Eagle Rock banner for?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure they've done well.
Your default answer of "I don't know" is so great. I love it.
I know. I don't know. We're just trying. We'll do for example, we're gonna have 2 teams at the Griffith Park relay race this year, and I have nothing to do with that. I will support them, and I will make sure that everybody has what they need to do it. But I'm not planning it. I don't want it. I don't want an extra thing to plan. I want them to be able to do it and have a nice time. But they're active members of the community, so they should be able to do it. They should be able to rep Eagle Rock if they want to. If they want to go under a different team name, do that too. I don't know. I have
Yeah.
no, I'm not super particular about how people do stuff as long as like we are providing the space for them to feel comfortable to do it.
So how big is the club then at this point?
So we have, I would say, on any given Thursday, about 100 people showing up. Saturday runs can range from anywhere from like 20 to 100 people did our Waltz to the Sea run, which is our annual, our 20 miler that we do. And then on like our actual Discord has like 300 people in it. You know, not everybody that's part of that is actively participating all the time.
Yeah.
And then our Strava has, I think, around 800 to 900 people. Recently verified on Strava.
Hey, so there we go. All right, I didn't. Now this takes the interview to like the next echelon. Now I'm
yeah.
prepared more and
yeah, you didn't realize awesome. You were talking to a verified Strava user, dog.
No. Like I mean, I figured like this is going to be an LA interview. This guy knows music. Like I got to know my shit a little bit, but like then like you throw Strava verified on top of that.
Yeah.
I'm well out of the league here. Awesome. So all organic build then, yeah, for the club. Pretty much word of mouth.
Yeah, it's word of mouth and socials is really all it is.
With 100 people showing up to Waltz on Thursdays and then your long runs on Saturdays, what do you do to keep the activities fresh? What routes do you like? Is it the same route every time? What do you do to keep runs exciting, the veterans stoked, and the new people sort of in awe of what's happening?
Yeah, I think Thursdays again are like that is consistent. I don't change that. You'll never find us doing something different on a Thursday. We've had people reach out and ask if like we can do like a special Thursday run somewhere else, and I've always turned them down because I want that just to be, you know, I almost don't want to have to post about Thursday. I want people just to show up because they know they can count on, even if I'm not there, someone will lead the run. You know, it's pretty self-led at this point. For the Saturday long runs and for like all the other stuff, I think I just have like sort of a childlike need to make them as fun and silly as possible. So like we have stuff in the works for 420 where we're going to do like a special run with a partner. And then also we're going to run the Cool S, you know, like the Stussy S. Yeah. So I made a route that we can run the Stussy S. And it's going to be like 11 miles with like 1,000 feet of elevation gain. But like that sort of stuff to me is the most fun. Or like, again, like the Waltz to the Sea, like doing something that maybe people wouldn't have thought is even possible to like run all the way from Eagle Rock to the Santa Monica Pier. Like doesn't sound achievable, but it is, especially if you train for it. And so the more like fun, silly stuff we can do just to make it. So I want to have a good time. And then we also like on those ones we meet at different places. So I'll make sure like, you know, this Saturday we're doing a run that we're going to meet at Oinkster, which is a local burger spot.
That was the Satisfy burger, right?
Yeah. And so we've started doing the first Saturday of every month is our Satisfy LSD Slow Jam. So we meet at Oinkster and they do a special breakfast burrito for us.
Nice.
And we have a nice time. And then, you know, we'll meet at, you know, coffee places, you know, just try and switch it up so we're not doing the same route every time.
What's like the thing that you look forward to the most? So like you started this thing, you've grown this organically. It's huge. It's getting big. You're Strava verified. Holy shit. But like, what's that moment during your group run where you're like, holy shit, like, look at what I've built?
Yeah, I think the times when those really come about, and again, it's only been 2 years, so like everything is still exciting to me. Like, but you know, when we start a long run and all of a sudden I just like look around and we have 70 people running down the street in Eagle Rock and we're like truly like taking over the road. I just think, like, how weird is this? Like, how strange that any of this is happening at all. There's also like when we did LA Marathon and the first year that we had a cheer station, I had never run LA Marathon with anybody before. Okay. And like to be running down the street like in my Eagle Rock Run Club singlet and having other run clubs be like, yo, Eagle Rock, like it's also just a fun, like, we're not a big neighborhood, so to have people like really screaming out Eagle Rock is always really funny to me. And then like our cheer station just being so like over the top and silly and like everything that our run club is, which is, always putting fun first, always, just trying to like make running a little bit less serious and a little bit more accessible. And like, I think moments like that, I like start to get emotional when they happen, because like it just feels I'm just glad that like I have found my place in something.
That's awesome.
I just start to weep right now.
Those are called engagement tears. They
yeah.
Like,
and then the thumbnail will be Dan cries in interview.
All right. So if I'm getting back to Eagle Rock, if I'm coming to town, so I'm going to get down to LA soon. But if I'm coming to town and I want to join a run, what do I need to know before joining Eagle Rock? Or
just come hang. It's everything's on our socials, everything's on our Strava. You don't have to sign up. I get that question all the time, like, oh, how much does it cost? And I could not imagine charging to come on a run in the middle of the street. But yeah,
that's great.
It's really just show up.
Yeah. And what should people prepare for?
Yeah, prepare to meet some really weird people. Prepare to get into some heated debates about fast food restaurants.
Can you shed some light on some recent debates that have been had in that regard?
Well, we're always going back and forth on the top Taco Bell item, which to me is like not really a question. It's the cheesy gordita crunch. It's like the pinnacle of fast food. It's everything that you want in a Taco Bell item. It's got the soft, the crunchy, the cheesy, the beefy, and it's all in one package that is pretty, you're not going to spill it all over the place. It's actually much better than the Crunchwrap Supreme in that aspect. But then you'll get people like that don't know what they're talking about that say that the double decker taco is actually better. The beans don't really work in the same way that the cheese does as a bonding measure.
I'm just going with the classic bean and cheese burrito. Like I know it's very simple, but like there's the little crunch of the onion, that red sauce that's not duplicated anywhere else on the menu, and the shredded cheese that's like half melted with the beans, and something about like a little too much tortilla. Like that's where I call it good.
No, you're not wrong. Misguided maybe, but not wrong.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I always think about it like what does Taco Bell do that no one else does? And like Del Taco, you can get the BRC, and I think they actually do a superior bean, rice, and cheese.
Okay.
Than Taco Bell.
I don't like rice in my burritos.
That's fair. I don't normally, but Taco Bell I make an exception for.
Okay. All right. Aren't they putting French fries in there now? Didn't I see something like that? Like,
you can get French fries in there. Yeah. I mean, I'm from San Diego, so French fries in a burrito is kind of standard.
Yeah, that's what comes in them. I haven't found any good Mexican food in Portland. I'm just going to say that on record. San Diego is like my go-to. What was
that's fair.
Okay, what's your favorite Mexican food in San Diego then?
My favorite place is El Zarape on Park, kind of in like the North Park area. Yeah, really clean, really well made. And then they also do something special where the fries inside are seasoned fries, almost with like the curly fry texture.
Yep.
And it really takes it to another level.
Okay, cool. I felt like there was some kindred spirits happening here. All right. So back to like the run club stuff.
Yes.
So
it's all tied together. There's a reason why I run. 13 miles is like a burrito.
Yeah. Well, I mean, run club lends to better conversation. Better conversations tend to be about food. A, B, C, or A equals B, B equals C, A equals C. Transitive property.
There we go.
What's the major benefit, in your opinion, of joining a run club?
I think it's just having people to talk to about running that aren't your immediate family, who are sick and tired of hearing you talk about running. I think it's making adult friends, that aren't, for me, a guy that has been in music for so long, like knowing people that don't really care about, they care about music, but like knowing some people that don't work in music is so nice. It's also, if you want to train for a marathon, like there's no better place to do it than a run club, because I'm going to figure out the routes for you. I'm going to figure out the training plan that's going to get you there for the first time. And then you don't have to do all those, you don't have to spend 4 hours alone on your 20 miler, which, I enjoyed my first couple times, but it's a lot more enjoyable when, you have someone to talk to.
What's the running scene like in LA?
I think I mean, again, I've only been in it for 2 years, but for me, in the last year, it feels like it's grown, and also it's become very, it's not competitive, I would say. And maybe it is, and I just don't see it because I don't surround myself with those people.
Yeah.
But, like I get so stoked when I see another run club doing something fun. I go to other run clubs every once in a while just so I can, say hi to my friends. And we're at a point now where there's a run club for every type of person. You have the fast ones, and I have run clubs that I go to specifically to work on speed stuff.
Cool.
You have the drinking run clubs, you have the morning run clubs. There's one in town called Tofu Scramble that meets every Friday at 6:30 a.m. So I don't always make it, especially after our Thursday runs.
Yeah.
But Mikey and Genesia, who run that, they are really good about finding like sort of these urban trails in LA, and especially our neighborhood. They'll do like 4 mile runs with several hundred feet of what they call vert, basically elevation. But it's like, if you want that, that's there for you. If you want to go fast, there's unsanctioned. If you want to hang out with some freaks, you come to Eagle Rock Run Club, and that's just on the east side. And then there's a ton of one of my friends has a run club called LA Cinephile Run Club, where he chooses routes based off of filming locations. Yeah, so he did like a 500 Days of Summer one recently. We did a Halloween one. But again, like we all of these people that I'm talking about also come to Eagle Rock, and Eagle Rock runners also go to these runs. And so it's like, I do feel like there's at this moment, just a nice kind of unity with a lot of our run clubs and I don't know how much of this is just me hearing it from other people, but it feels like New York is maybe a little bit more competitive when it comes to that sort of stuff. And maybe that's the New York spirit. I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But it feels really good right now. And like, obviously it's blown up and it's attracted a lot of attention in different ways. But at this point, it feels very, very positive. If we can keep that as long as possible before we all start, going warrior style and fighting in the streets.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
All right. So barriers to running. I think this is because you mentioned this at the front, like people that are like getting into this for the first time or seasoned vets or whatever it might be, of like 3 easy miles is such an approachable, I think goal, or a good mileage for people that might be just getting into running. But what do you see as the biggest barriers for people to start running? And then follow up to that, how does Eagle Rock Run Club sort of help get people over that?
Most people, when I talk to them, and now at this point, I've made running so much about my personality that one of the first things people say to me when like even just old friends will be like, yeah, man, I wish I could run, but my knees hurt. And it's like, I think that if we can figure out the knee problem in this country, we will have solved everything. Everyone will just go out running, because it seems to be the most it truly seems to be the most prolific problem that this country, at least from my perspective, is seeing health wise. It's also funny because like, I don't need everybody to run. Like, if you want to run, I'm here. Like, I want to help you, and I want to make this sport as accessible as humanly possible. But like, It is funny. I don't know if you ever get this, but when people are like, yeah, man, I'm sorry, I can't run, my knees. It's like, that's fine. You got to do your own thing. Like, not everybody needs to run.
Not everyone needs to run. I like that. It's I think it's so, when we get into run clubs or when we start to surround ourselves, or like you were saying, like make running so much part of our identity, it seems like, why aren't more people doing this? But then you realize, there's knee problems. There's a whole litany of issues that people face, and not everyone needs to run. That's very eloquent. All right. So just selfishly, I want to know how this happened so I can figure out how to make it happen. But the Satisfy question, like what's going on with that? How did that come about? And want to hear about the oyster shirts and just
yeah, man, that whole thing was super, and it is still super organic and very like much handshake the way we do it. Basically, Brees was slightly aware from Satisfy, was slightly aware of the run club. And he also, my buddy Fred, who runs with us, he started Burger Lords, which is a veggie burger restaurant. He also owns Oinkster, so there's all this like little synergy. Yeah, there's all this little synergy happening. We invited him to come out for one of our Saturday long runs, and this is still when it was maybe we had 20 people doing the Saturday long runs, and he came out, and it was so funny because I didn't recognize him, and it was just a nice man wearing all Satisfy stuff, and I was like, damn, that's a that's a good fit. And then eventually found out that he was the owner of Satisfy. Like he's the founder of Satisfy. And then, as we started to get deeper into TSP and LA Marathon stuff, we just reached out to him being like, do you guys want to do something together? And it turns out they did. And so we've just been, working on fun little projects. We do our Saturday long run. We did our shakeout with Satisfy and this company called Renegade from Oakland. Really cool guys. So we did that, and then they made us the Oralite shirt. Their tech fabric. They made us a special Eagle Rock one that is like so sick. It feels insane that exists. And then as we got closer to the LA Marathon, we were just talking about, having our after party at the Oinkster, that's someplace so you can get like a big meal after the marathon, also get a drink, and then having, an exclusive Moth Tech for that event. And it still blows my mind that we tricked them into putting a big burger on the front of a Moth Tech. it's like
so rad, it's so cool.
It's all very, and it all it all makes sense, and it lines up with our aesthetic and our silly little games we like to play. Yeah, all those guys, they're very sweet, and we work with them on a very friend hang level, and it's good. I don't know how it happened, honestly. I don't know how any of this happens.
It's like the testament of what you built for someone to sort of take notice and then just organically join a run and be like, holy shit, in the back of his brain, he was probably thinking, I need to work with these guys in some aspect, or there's some potential here, a possibility to work together. So that's cool. That's what I got. I just want to leave the last couple minutes here for any shout outs or thanks or props or anything that you want to send out to the community. This is 55 minutes, but you can have it for the rest of the time too, however long that is. There's no time limit. This isn't a TV show.
It's not a TV show. You told me it was a TV show. I thought this was going to be on VH1.
VH1 behind the club. Yeah.
Dude, we are so close to something like that happen. We are approximately 3 months away from Venice Run Club having a reality dating show. Someone's going to try and infiltrate this space in a weird way that is going to make all of us feel very strange.
Oh yeah, it's going to be like the Jersey Shore, but for run clubs.
Hell yeah.
I would watch it. That's the thing. It would have to.
And I'll be the situation.
Yeah, but any parting words, any shout outs, anything like that?
Shout out Eagle Rock, shout out Oinkster, shout out coffee places that let us hang out there. No, I think, and I don't know if I said this enough as we were talking, but I think the thing that makes Eagle Rock Run Club special is has very little to do with me personally. I think it has everything to do with the people that show up, the people that participate, the people that, reach out when they can tell it's someone's first run and greet them for the first time and bring them into the circle. And I think, if anything, I just feel very lucky that everyone that has shown up is that kind of person. And, it's not easy to run a run club, but it's made it a little bit easier knowing that I can count on the captains that we have, like Steve and Carrie, Claire, Robbie, Gabby, everybody, Keaton, everybody, all these people, Daniel. Now I'm afraid that I'm going to forget someone. But just, knowing that we are always operating from a space of kindness and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And I think, if anything, that's what makes Eagle Rock Run Club special, or the people like that, the people that are involved that do reach out and they care, and running is not our number one priority. It's the people are number one for me, at least. So
man, I'm gonna stop it there because I think that that's such a great sentiment. It's not about the running, it's about the people. Thank you, Dan, so much for
of course,
being
man.
part of it. And I was bummed that I couldn't get my hands on the Oinkster shirt. So next time I'll just have to get down there and get one myself.
You gotta come down. You gotta show up. I was able to interview Gordon Clark a couple weeks ago too, and just a rad dude there. So I owe a lot of people visits in LA, so I'll have to get down there for that. Again, man, this is such a great chat, and I don't know, man, just appreciative of your time today. Thank you, dude. Thank you for talking to me, and thanks for reaching out. Thank you for not making me do that long Google Doc that you sent me. That was scary.
Only 4 pages, but if you decrease the font size, it's only 2.
Yeah, there we go. I was about to put that thing into ChatGPT and just give you the most boring interview of all time.
I think that would have been great. I still could have found the gems in it. That's my job.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the run tomorrow. And we'll be in touch.
Will do. Thank you, man.
All right, dude. Have a good one.
Bye. You too.
You're taking reservations.